Hello world! God, that's way too grand, isn't it? Yeah. Hello YouTube! I hate it. How do you start a YouTube video? Anyway, I appreciate this will probably only be seen by friends and family, so I'll just try and explain myself a little bit. I know that we've got enough BS going on in the Western world, but having been to Kashmir recently, I just kind of feel compelled to actually try and raise some sort of awareness of the struggles that the people over there are going through. And I'll put links to videos and articles, further reading, things like that in the description below. Kashmir is a region to the north of the Indian subcontinent, which is generally used to describe these areas, which, due to much fighting, include lands currently administered by Pakistan, China and India, including the Kashmir Valley. This is an area known as heaven on earth for the immense natural beauty it possesses. It's basically Switzerland in Asia, but it's being ruined and stunted by the greed of the surrounding nations who all want a piece of the action, if not the whole thing. Not all, but most young Kashmiris are angry about Indian occupation and upset that they have no agency and no power despite their vast numbers to have a say in the direction their homeland takes, and are seeing any chance of progress being stunted and extinguished by the vice-like grip of India on one side and Pakistan on the other. Owing to these ongoing issues, when I visited for a friend's wedding in late July/early August this year, I saw a wonderful, breathtakingly beautiful place with a shocking lack of infrastructure. Even staying with relatively affluent members of the area I was in, there were regular daily power cuts, unclean and limited tap water, road services were filled with potholes and littered with aggressive street dogs, horses, cows. If you think there's no rules on the road in India, wait till you see Kashmir. If you visit Indian Occupied Kashmir, you can't escape the number of military personnel there. The Indian Army have people everywhere. And the stories that I heard about the human rights abuses going on were disgusting. Someone I met there took me over to a different area. I'm not even sure what the place was called. We drove for about 40 minutes somewhere. And he just took me to see a friend of his. And suddenly the whole family comes in the room and they all want to see the random white guy who's in the middle of Kashmir. And I was speaking with one of them. And he was telling me about the kind of things that went on, especially in the 90s. There'd be a knock at the door and the Indian Army would be there. They'd demand to see the patriarch of the family, the eldest male. And they'd claim to take them for questioning, drag them out of the house, stick them in a van, and off they go. Most of the time, these people would never be seen again. But this person that I met told me that pretty much everyone you speak to within Indian Occupied Kashmir will know at least one person who went missing during that time. Fathers, sons, husbands, gone. Luckily, I flew out of Kashmir on the 1st of August, as on the 2nd of August, the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, ruled that any non-Kashmiris were to immediately leave Kashmir before the end of the 4th of August, causing panic at the main airports as people scrambled for plane tickets and prices skyrocketed, no pun intended. India enforced this exodus of tourists and Hindu pilgrims and sent in more troops into the Muslim-majority region. Overnight, the internet, phone lines, cable TV and mobile reception were cut, effectively castrating both the public and the media. Movements were restricted by military blockades and Kashmiri political leaders, governors and ministers placed under house arrest. Full blackout. India announced that they're revoking Article 370 entirely, removing Jammu and Kashmir's special status, nullifying Article 35A, and essentially annexing the entirety of Indian Occupied Kashmir. This is considered by many to be an illegal move, and petitions challenging India on it are to be heard by the Supreme Court on November 13th, although this date has already been pushed back to allow India more time to build their defence. Ironic, seeing as those living there with a vested interest in challenging the act are limited to what they can do by the enforced blackout. They also enforced Section 144 of the CRPC, which places a ban on more than 5 people gathering in a location at once, including any kind of political assembly, to quell any chance of unrest. Local authorities also rounded up thousands of separatist group leaders and civil society members, as well as the politicians, to prevent large protests erupting. Now, let's be honest, when there's a communications blackout like this, and especially when a region has the track record it does, you can almost guarantee there's going to be human rights abuses going on over there. We're now over 80 days into this blackout where all aspects of life are effective. Kashmiris can't continue running their businesses under such conditions, which is leading to financial strain and poverty in a region that's already deprived of the kind of infrastructure we take for granted. Markets are closed, movement is limited, communication channels are thwarted. Newspapers in Kashmir have reduced in size and had to switch to reporting any international news they can get information on. A newspaper seller in Srinagar was quoted as saying, "It is a self-censorship. They know that if they write anything controversial, they will get detained. With no other source of revenue, government advertisements are their lifeline. How will they write against the government then? They are just biding their time till they get back on their feet. Right now, they are crippled." Within the last couple of weeks, there was a UN General Assembly in New York, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi didn't even mention the ongoing situation in Kashmir. However, the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan did. The opinion of those I've heard from is that Pakistan's support is welcomed if it helped loosen the vice grip that India currently has on the area. However, joining as part of Pakistan would likely be a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire. The Kashmir I saw was beautiful and brimming with potential to be a tourist hotspot. They've got glaciers, valleys, shikara boats. They've got amazing food, Mughal forts, mountain ranges, and monkeys. They have monkeys. Sadly, the stranglehold the surrounding nations now have on the area means peace or independence seems like a distant dream. I, along with the people I spoke with during my stay, would love to see Kashmiri independence during our lifetimes. However, for all three parties, India, China and Pakistan, to remove their interest in the area is a big ask. These are three nations who are unlikely to back down no matter the cost. And my fear is even if we see such a thing come to pass, that one of the nations will be bluffing, and once the other two blink, will move their forces back in to take the whole area. Such is the helpless position Kashmir are in. The only possible solution is for the international community to take notice. The UN demanded a referendum when the first ceasefire was brokered between Pakistan and India for the Kashmiri people to decide their own fate, rather than honour an ascension signed by a possibly biased leader who was potentially under duress or at least desperate for help. It is time for the UN to take action, stop this blatant abuse of power, and bring hope and peace back to a region that has so much to offer the world, if only it had the chance.